Hello, Meoni here, and welcome back to another 4.1 Final Fantasy XIV video for you. Today I thought I'd tackle the topic of the Hidden Canals of Uznair, which is not to be mistaken with the Lost Canals of Uznair. The Hidden Canals is a brand new series of maps which you can acquire with the Thief's map from a rare drop chance inside the Lost Canals of Uznair from one of the treasure chests. I managed to get one of these on my first run of the patch, and essentially this is what the map looks like. Essentially these new maps, these Thief's maps, will be completely different. Sometimes you might have to use the dig command underwater, and in this particular video we did actually get a map that was underwater. So essentially what you do is you go to the usual place once you've deciphered it and figured it out on the map where it might be, and we go to that location. We had to dive underwater to this big shipwreck, and I used the dig command, and sure enough a big purple portal opened underwater. Simply right click this and you go straight into the Hidden Canals of Uznair. So essentially there's very little difference in terms of rooms or mobs that you fight in here. Just things seem to hit a lot harder, healing seems to be a bit higher on requirement, but we were still able to do it with an undersized party. They do recommend on the actual patch notes to do this in a group of 8, but as long as you've got a tank sort of character as well as one healer, you can pretty much just fill the rest of the slots with DPS, however many you want, and you'll be pretty much fine as long as you avoid AoEs like our party did. Now essentially it's the same thing, only this time you progress through each floor and there's 3 options instead of just the normal 2, which means you've got an extra chance of the doors actually closing on you. Now originally in the Japanese patch notes, or the preliminary notes that were translated, they did actually mention that the chance to actually fail was removed, and then they changed it last minute to say that there was still basically a 1 in 3 chance of you succeeding and go to the next floor instead, which is interesting to say the least. But essentially every treasure coffer opened, if you're unfamiliar with these treasure maps, spawns a series of mobs. Sometimes they come out one at a time from these gates above the doors, and sometimes like this first one here they all come out at once. These butterflies are fairly simple. It seems quite often that on the first floor you get these butterflies. I've not really seen many variants on this first chest, but essentially you've still got 7 floors and there's a boss at the end if you can get that far down. But a real intriguing thing, which is something that people have been wanting to see more of, is that occasionally when opening these chests after completing the waves, you will actually have the double or nothing minigame, as I like to call it. As it says, ABHARAMUS lure activates. The treasure coffer has been marked ABHARAMUS lure. Should you wish to try your luck, 2 cards will appear, 1 hidden and 1 revealed. With a possible value of 1 to 9, you must then guess whether the value of the hidden card is higher or lower than the other. If you guess correctly, the quantity of items you may claim is increased. You may elect to try your luck again following a correct guess up to a maximum of 5 times. If you guess incorrectly, however, any loot in the coffer will vanish. So as you can see, it's basically higher or lower, double or nothing, which is pretty cool. As you can see on the side here, it's showing off that we get a Naxian wool and some crystals and some materia and a crack cluster and all sorts of other bits and bobs for crafting materials. But if we were to take the gamble, we would actually get 2 Naxian wools and double the amount of every other crafting mat, including double the amount of gil as well for completing this chest. Now essentially I misread this at first and thought it said 1 to 6, even though I read it out in my mind and in front of everyone on Discord. So I messed up a little bit, and basically we ended up with nothing from this chest. But you've basically just got to choose higher or lower based on the odds of, you know, if something's going to be more likely to be higher number or lower number. Until eventually you've sort of worn out your luck and you can just pretty much open the chest and end it there and continue through the dungeon. As I said though, I messed up pretty royally, and this is what happened. It's fairly safe to say that I'm never going to live this down on my Discord or in my free company, just basically because I didn't read it properly, even though I read it to them, like I say, and I thought that 6 was the maximum. So obviously when a 6 came up, I went lower, and you know, it turned out to be lower than that, which is a 4. Pretty close, but we still got it. So things were going up to 150,000 gil. A 4 came up, and I said lower because obviously I thought that 6 was the maximum, where, you know, realistically you would go for the upper. It should be higher value. People were screaming at me at this point, and sure enough, I flopped it. So, yeah, that's not particularly good, is it? And the treasure basically disappeared forever. And to top it off, my luck got much worse when I approached this door. And essentially the 1 in 3 chance completely RNG'd me to death, and that was the end of our run. But essentially this place is a lot of fun. I don't find it that drastically different than the normal Lost Canals, and honestly they've just reused everything. All of the models are exactly the same. I'm not really sure about the boss at the end because we've not got there yet. We'll probably do another video on that when we get a full clear. But basically we were RNG'd, and my poor decisions ruined essentially my friendship with a bunch of people because I can't read. So note to self, it's 1 to 9 and the values can be anywhere between that, and if a 4 comes up, make sure you press the higher card, otherwise you'll have quite a lot of complaining to deal with. Sure enough though, we did actually get 2 maps this day, and the second one we went in, my friend James actually picked the first door to be a dud, so yeah, wasn't that much better at all. At least we got some Naxian wool, which sells for quite a bit from this. It's worth noting that a bunch of new materials that were added for the 2-star crafting stuff for level 70 were actually added to the Hidden Canals of Uznair. So if you want to get a hold of those and you don't want to pay through the nose prices on the market board, it's best to go probably buy a map or do Wondrous Tales to get a map. Go and do the Lost Canals until you get a Hidden Thieves map inside there, and then come and do this, because you get tons of Naxian wool amongst a lot of other materials that weren't in the game previously. To actually get these maps, like I say, you do have to go and do the Lost Canals to actually get the map drop. The Thief's map itself is actually bound to you. They're not unique, so you can actually have multiples of them at one point, but you cannot actually trade these, so you won't see them on the market board. At least not in this patch anyway. So the exclusivity of the items located within the Hidden Canals adds to their value obviously on the market board, and actually at the moment it's one of the best ways to make gil. Go buy a Lost Canals map and try and get a hidden map from this, and essentially you'll be walking away with quite a lot of money if your rolls are good. Hopefully you've enjoyed this brief look at the Hidden Canals of Uznair. Like I say, I will try and get another video out on this in the future when we get a bit more lucky and we get much deeper in here, but I wanted to put this out as soon as possible really, because I covered the last one, and it's really nice to learn about the new things in 4.1, which we've done lots of videos on so far, and there'll be plenty more 4.1 related videos in the future as well. We're putting out videos daily, so if you like that kind of thing, please check out the channel, maybe subscribe, and I'll see you next time.